The end of May marks the end of Africa Week. Africa Liberation Day, which was marked on May 25th, was marred by discussions on resilience in nutrition and food security on the African continent. However, it is rare that you find spaces hosted by young people for young people to discuss and share their thoughts on such relevant topics. I am your host, Jade Natasha Iriza, a reporter with the New Times. And today, we are graced by the presence of three amazing people whom will introduce themselves.
My name is Tiffaine Louange Magda Utouje. I am a young poet and debater. Thank you.
I am Shema Nasil. I am the Executive Director of Peace and Love Proclaimers PLP.
My name is Sam Kalisa. I'm a media personality currently working with the RBA. Thank you.
The celebration is drawn from Pan-Africanism principles. Do you guys consider yourself as Pan-Africanists? What basically do you think about Pan-Africanism?
Yes, I am a Pan-Africanist, and I think Pan-Africanism is a shared ideology that Africans share, that Africans not only share a common history, but also a common destiny that's being prosperous and achieving a common development.
To me, I believe Pan-Africanism is the idea that Africa is one people, people of the same culture, people of the same values, and people with a shared common interest.
I'm a Pan-Africanist, and Pan-Africanism is simply an ideology of having the same African solidarity towards a prosperous and peaceful Africa, simply that.
My next question goes to Tiffaine. Africa Day is usually held to commemorate the founding of the Organization of African Unity, and such organizations are less cared about, I would say, by young people and ordinary citizens. And would you say if it would make a difference if they cared more?
Yes, I definitely think it would make a difference if young people cared more. Why? Because in the first place, such organizations are basically put together not just for the people who are working in the offices, but for basically the youth, the young people who are going to be able to take advantage of the tough work that's being put in these organizations. And it would very much serve in countries like the countries you have in Africa, considering the fact that you have over nearly 60% of the population in Africa that is the youth. So it would definitely help if you had more people of the youth being invested in what's happening in these organizations. And also, I'll come back to the fact that even today, the agenda, everything that's being set up by all these organizations is basically for the young people to be able to get profit from this. Let's talk about the 2063 agenda. It's basically so that youth can get an actual profit from all the investment that's being given into these organizations. And I would say, I'll add to this, there is no point in actually creating all these organizations if it's not for the youth to be invested in them.
I actually agree with you, Tiffaine. I think that these mandates of this organization can only be sustainable if a youthful generation takes on the lead. So yeah, that's a very good point you just made. My next question will go to Shema. This year is referred to as a year of nutrition. Yes, we know Africa is rich in natural resources, yet the current rises in price and shortage in oil, gas, wheat have proven that we still have a long way to go to actually reach self-reliance. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much for the question. It's actually interesting given the current situation of the Russia-Ukraine war that has actually shown us that we rely more on the West than we should actually be relying on ourselves. To me, I believe we're not asking the right questions. I believe we are always looking for the right answers but not asking the right question. If you look at all the big companies we have around the world, they come from trying to answer a question, not trying to find answers. And I was just trying to add to what Tiffaine just said. These organizations are mainly for implementing policies. We see African Union Summit, we see different summits going on, and all they're trying to say is policies and policies, but when it comes to implementing, it's actually a problem. And this comes back to my my point that I was trying to make. The fact that we're trying to get answers, but we're not actually trying to ask the right question. And the right question is, what do we have in us that we can actually use to try and find problems? You look at the problems, for example, that we have now. The gas prices has hiked, you know, and if you look at, you know, countries in the continent, you look at Nigeria, you look at Angola, these two countries combined, they could supply us with gas that could actually feed the whole Africa. But then Russia and Ukraine are having a war, and it's actually affecting the whole world, but especially Africa. So for me, I believe answers are on the root cause of things, not the leaf of symptoms. You know, the problem is that we do not get to harness what we have for us in Africa, but we're trying to go to the Western countries to ask for help for the things that we could actually do. We need strong political will and dedication to deliver on the ground. You see, as Africa, we're not short of policymakers, but the will to deliver on the ground is always the problem. You know, we're going to summits and all we talk about is addressing the issue. But when it comes to delivering on the ground, it's always a problem. We know that Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are rich of cocoa, but then we're always talking about how can we harness those natural resources, but then it stays there. No one has the will to actually go there and build a chocolate factory. We're talking about, I was actually talking about Libya, countries like Nigeria, Angola, which have gas. We're not trying to build industries that are actually that could actually use these natural resources to actually feed Africa.
I'm sorry to stress much on that question. I think our friend Sam will help. Do you think Africa has the means? Let's say the will is there. Let's say that's where we are having these conversations. Let's say some young minds and forces are ready to take on what it takes. But do we have the means? Isn't it maybe why we run at the first thought to the West?
We do have everything it takes to have the Africa we need, to have all the policies put in place and benefiting Africa. Only one point is missing: the willingness and the coming together as Africans and having the common mindset and common goal towards achieving the Africa we want. How about, he was talking about the oil and gas. I'm very sure the West doesn't have more oil than Africa does. So it's all about having the same and common goal, the common mindset, the common vision as the African continent, as Africans in general, towards achieving what we really need. Are we really, he said we're not short of policymakers. Neither are we short of policies. Policies are there, perfect ones. But when it comes to being implemented and being put to benefit, to the point of benefiting the continent, practically, you find that that's where we fall short. And if we could only take these small steps towards putting these policies, these visions in place, it would be very much enough to achieving what we want. So yes, we do have what it takes.
Africa's Agenda 2063 could be the missing common will that we're talking about, and it is portrayed as the proposed roadmap for the continent's inclusive and social economic development that is sustainable. Well, what could you change or add to this, if you could?
The whole 24 pages document of this vision, if I could say, it is just a perfect narration of the Africa we would want to have. So saying you could add or change anything, I could go back to what I was just saying. if you could look at the objectives of the Agenda 2063, having a peaceful, having a prosperous, having a united Africa, these are the things we would all need to see in Africa, and adding anything would just be going beyond what we really need. So if we're talking about achieving a peaceful Africa and we're still seeing coups around Africa, what are we talking about? We are talking about silencing guns, and we can still see rebel groups in every single country on the African continent. We're talking about achieving zero hunger by 2063, but what are we doing to really make our agriculture sectors over the African continent strong enough to feed the African continent, the African people? We're talking about education. What systems are we putting in place? Are we making it easy? Even if we're availing the means for education, is the quality really enough to make Africans educated enough to put the continent on their back and carry it to where we want the African continent to be? So there are just many things that we really need to, as he said, ask the right questions so that we can really find the right answers. So the Agenda 2063 itself is so perfect only if we could take the small steps towards achieving it. As we can say, it is almost 10 years down, as the Agenda 2063 was established in 2013. But how many countries have tried to integrate the Agenda 2063 of the whole African continent into their visions and agendas, so that they can take these small steps towards achieving it?
We are all in different sectors and domains, and we're here and we're young, but it won't be that for long. So we only have a short time to use our youth to actually improve on these steps, right? So Tiffen is a debater, she's a challenger of these big topics and all that. She's also a poetess. Shema, you're in the field of youth advocacy for peace and love, and yourself, you're in the media sector, yeah? So we have different things to deliver. In Kinyarwanda they call it igihango, but in English it could be commitment. What could be your message to the African youth? What's your message to Africa?
Well, I have two messages for the young people, and especially African tuning in right now. The first one is a dream without a plan is just a wish. As Africans, I believe we need to make plans on how to deliver. Since speeches has never improved anyone's life, we need to think more on how we can deliver and improve the lives of Africans. That would be my first message. My second message is that we all have a special genius inside of us. So let's not try and adopt the other. Most of us Africans are trying to adopt the Western element of living, the Western element of thinking, the Western element of implementing. I believe as Africans we have a genius inside of us, and we need to try and adopt that and make sure that we're bringing solutions to Africans, but solutions that are actually African as well.
Normally, what you love and who you love, you fight for them. What you really want, you think about it, you envision it, you plan for it, you give what it takes, you commit towards it until you see it where you really want. So what I would tell the young people on the African continent is to really fall in love with this continent. So long as we still admire and we would like to live the life others have already achieved, we need to always remember that they took time to dream of it and made small steps to build it, and they now have it. So we could really do the same, so long as we really have what it takes. And also, talking about that, I would go back to where it all starts. It all starts from a strong political will and a support to the African young people who they're there. Well, maybe not very many, but even those who are there should be facilitated. They should be, supported to put together all their thoughts and visions towards achieving the Africa we want. So, to young African people, let us just fall in love with this continent and try to own it. Then think about it, then plan for it, then implement so that we can eventually reach where we want.
Dare to move on. Now, there's a difference between moving on, like move on, and then dare to move on. A lot of us, a lot of people in the youth are comfortable with things that are not good for them. We are somehow we have made peace with how things are in the current situation, and we are not really willing to push through and do what needs to be done. And I really think that to dare to move on is something that has continuously been done in history, and it has only proved itself to be productive. We'll talk about Nelson Mandela. At his young age, he said, it's comfortable. It's not comfortable. We could stay here. We could say, I'll do what needs to be done. I'll behave the way they want me to behave, and I'll live through it. But I want to make a change. We can talk about Kwame Nkrumah. We can talk about here in Rwanda, Paul Kagame and the RPF. They could have stayed in the exile, but it was not comfortable. But they did not only say it's not comfortable, but they also said it's not comfortable, so what do we do about it, right? One of the challenges that the agenda is meeting is the youth, the citizens, are not being able to make peace with the atrocities and the harms that were done in the past, while also imagining a greater future and using the resources that are in the present. Now, and definitely this talks to me because a lot of us are saying the past is so bad and we are so affected. What could we do? We don't have enough opportunities. But at the end of the day, all of those things you are saying are excuses when you think of it. We can actually make a change. We can actually stand up and do things that needs to be done. All that it asks of us is to dare to go for it, to move on.
Well then, we guess all is not lost for Africa if we dare to think, and we are young, so we can do it. Tiffen said to dare to move on, not just know that it is uncomfortable, but to do something about it. Some said that we enough with talking, so let's move on to work. Thank you.